Greetings, Pokey people. Ichigo90 here, and today I'm doing something I have never done before. Scripting my video. Also, I will be playing Pokemon Emerald using only a Wobbuffet. The rules are the same as always. We pick Wobbuffet as our starter, and then only that Wobbuffet will be allowed to battle. Any other Pokemon we catch must be exclusively for traversing the overworld, or our Zigzagoon, which has the extremely useful pickup ability. If Wobbuffet faints, we must let all our other Pokemon faint as well without winning the battle, or otherwise reset to our last save point. Additionally, there will be no use of items in battle, with the exception of held items, which are not nearly as useful. An interesting note about Wobbuffet is that it only ever learns 4 moves, those being Counter, Mirror Coat, Safeguard, and Destiny Bond. It does technically have access to some other things if it starts off as a why not, but this one is not doing that, so those moves are not relevant. So, the first thing we want to do is find a hasty Wobbuffet. This will lower our physical defense, which allows Counter to do more damage, but it also raises our speed, which will be extremely helpful later on in the game. Now, we don't get hasty right away, and well, why would we? So we have to reset and try again. So we've reset, we're on a different Wobbuffet, and what will this one's nature be? Jolly. Of course it's jolly. Why would anything ever be easy? So this hunt is going to go on for quite a while. But eventually we will get our hasty Wobbuffet. What is this one going to be? Bold. Of course it's not hasty. That would make this thing way too simple. So we try again. We select Wobbuffet from the starters in the bag. And what is this one going to be? I wonder. Pokemon summary. Oh, hasty. There we go. We finally find our hasty Wobbuffet, meaning we can finally begin this battle against the Zigzagoon. Zigzagoon starts off by using Growl, and we use Counter. So because we took no damage, Counter does absolutely nothing. And then Zigzagoon uses Growl again, and we're still using Counter, and that's 2 turns of absolutely nothing happening. Zigzagoon finally decides to go for damage, and Tackle doesn't do much, but Counter does a decent chunk back to the Zigzagoon. And then it uses Tackle again, and after 3 turns of actually doing damage, Zigzagoon goes down. So we can already see what the volatility of using Wobbuffet is going to be, even after only this introductory battle. Wobbuffet is all but incapable of doing damage without taking some first, but its HP pool is much larger than almost anything else's. And what that means is that the battle is going to take quite a while. Zigzagoon, which normally only lasts a couple of turns, took way longer than normal. From the time we confirmed that we had a hasty Wobbuffet to the time Zigzagoon fell off the screen was almost 42 seconds. That's against a Zigzagoon at level 2. So what's going to happen against an actually bulky Pokemon like Steven Stone's Metagross? Professor Birch is so grateful to us for saving him from the wild Zigzagoon that he gives us the Wobbuffet we used. We call that Wobbuffet Punchy. And with that being done, we get into the first real battle of the game, rival battle number 1. Brendan opens up with his Mudkip, and we send out our recently acquired Punchy. And we can already see the benefits of having a defense-lowering nature on Wobbuffet, as Mudkip's tackle feels more like a tickle, but counter leaves Mudkip in red health. Mudkip misses its next tackle though, which causes counter to do absolutely nothing. But on the next turn, Mudkip connects and counter ends the battle. Punchy then gains 69 XP points. Ah, nice. So then on Route 102, we spend some time searching for a female Ralts and PP stall the growls so that she can struggle herself down into red health. That way we can catch Sapphire in a Premier Ball because she's a Premier Pokemon. And also because I don't know how to gen in Luxury Balls, which is what she really deserves. So we name the Ralts Sapphire, and then go on to Petalburg Woods, where we find some Team Aqua Bozo trying to steal something from this Devon guy who doesn't even get a name. I don't know what the deal is, but either way he sends out Poochyena, which immediately starts howling at me like it thinks that's going to do something. It does that twice in a row before finally tackling Punchy a couple of times and getting itself off the screen. That's 1. That's 2. And the battle is done, just like that. So Team Aqua Bozo then goes off about something in Rustboro City and runs out of the forest, because why would he not? And with that rather pointless feeling detour out of the way, we are finally able to face the first gym leader of the playthrough, Roxanne. Roxanne leads off with her Geodude, as she always does. And then Geodude opens up with Rock Tomb. I don't really know why, but either way it lowers our speed, which does not matter at all. Counter does well over half to the Geodude, and we select Counter just in case it actually decides to attack. But to nobody's surprise, the Potion Queen of Hoenn heals her Geodude. It then uses Rock Throw, and Counter does quite a lot back, and Geodude uses another Rock Tomb, which means we're on to the second Geodude. And you would think that it would continue throwing rocks, but no, it uses Defense Curl against the Pokemon that does not use its own attack stat. And then it uses another extremely pointless Defense Curl. And it's starting to become extremely clear what one of the most frustrating things about this challenge is actually going to be. And that's people who would rather use setup moves than actually damage their opponent in order to win the battle. So Geodude eventually will attack, but in the meantime we have to sit through watching it curl up into a ball. And when it finally decides to attack, it misses. However, it does attack again, and this time it connects, and counter does well over half damage to this one as well. I predict that the Potion Queen is going to heal the Geodude and use Safeguard to avoid wasting another counter, and I get it right. Who saw that coming? And then it decides to use Defense Curl again, and that still doesn't matter. And she does finally use Rock Throw, and it does over half damage back. It does another Rock Throw, and then the Geodude goes down. And it's clear that we are not going to win against the Nose Pass. Yeah, we're down to 10 HP, and Rock Tomb just immediately takes us out. So after that first attempt, I decided it would be a good idea to go over to the Rust Earth Tunnel to grind against the Whismur that live in there. And it was a long, annoying process of just repeatedly knocking out Whismur that probably did way more damage to their population than the construction crew ever could have hoped to do by just breaking those last couple of rocks that were left. So now that our HP is way higher than it was before, we go back to rematch Roxanne. She once again opens by having her Geodude use Rock Tomb, and counter once again does more than half back to the Geodude. Also, once again, the lowering of our speed does not matter. And then the Potion Queen immediately uses a potion, which wastes a counter that I should have seen coming. However, the next Rock Tomb it uses crits, and that allows counter to simply just take out the Geodude. After another drop of our speed, which again does not matter. We're never going to attack first in this battle. So that takes out the second Geodude, and it uses a Rock Throw, which allows counter to once more do over half. And then I predict her to not attack again in a row because she really enjoys using that strategy. And I call it correctly and use a Safeguard while her Geodude rolls up into a ball. However, she does it a second time, and I waste a counter. The third Defense Curl, however, I call and just waste Safeguard. Then she uses a fourth Defense Curl for some inexplicable reason, which really only causes this battle to take longer than it really should have. And then, for some reason, it uses another Defense Curl against the Pokemon that cannot attack on its own. I have no idea what she's doing here. However, its defense is max, which is not probably going to stop her from using more of those things, but she starts using Tackle. Okay. Then she uses another potion, which raises the age-old question we've all been wondering for so many years. How many of these things does she have, and where is she keeping them? However, she uses a Rock Throw, and that finally takes out the Geodude, leaving us with 41 HP to use against the Nose Pass. However, the Nose Pass uses Harden. This battle was mildly irritating, to say the least. It then uses another Harden, while I go for safeguard. And then it uses another harden while I go for another safeguard. Then it uses harden a third time. Again, Wobbuffet cannot attack on its own. I select counter just in case it decides to finally attack, but then it uses block. I don't know why. But I can't escape, even though I wasn't going to, and then it uses harden. And it just continues to harden. And safeguard wears off, but that doesn't really mean anything. And we're about 7 or 8 turns into this battle, and neither Pokemon has taken a single HP of damage. But then, finally, Nosepass does a damaging move, and it's Tackle. And then it tackles again. However, it does take it down to about half, and it eats an Oranberry. Then it uses Tackle, which takes it down to about half again. The problem is we're starting to run low on counter PP, and but it appears that Roxanne has finally run out of potions, and we managed to take out the Nosepass and finally get our first gym badge. But before we can move on to the second one, we have to take out this other Team Aqua Bozo in the Rust Turf Tunnel. And it's not going to be very difficult because just like the last one, he only has one Poochyena. The nice part is that it starts by tackling us and our HP bar barely moves. But then he uses Sand Attack, which is just rude. And then he starts howling at me as if he thinks he's any bigger than just 1'8". Newsflash, Poochyena, I'm not scared of you no matter how many times you howl. But then it continues to howl and throw more sand in my face. And then when he, just stop throwing sand at me. That's just rude. Okay, so it finally starts to attack, but then we miss because we're too busy rubbing sand out of our eyes. And of course, rather than attack again, it howls some more. But then it does finally attack, and its HP goes down to red. And then it starts howling again and throwing more sand. And then it howls. It's like, why? Just attack. This is taking so much longer than it needs to. You're not going to win. You're never going to do enough damage to take out Wobbuffet from here. Just attack and end it. Oh my god, he's just wasting time. Okay, but it does finally use another tackle and the battle is over. And with that done, the Team Aqua Bozo just declares that his life of crime is over and runs off. He gives us back the Devon stuff and he just runs away saying that he's going to go on the straight and narrow. No, but then this old man comes in and says that the bird is his pet Pico and offers to give us a ride on his boat. Which of course we take him up on because why wouldn't you trust a complete stranger? But we do end up on Devon Island. We do end up on Dewford Island and go into the Granite Cave to deliver a handwritten letter to the son of the president of the company that invented Pokemon cell phones. And as a thank you for all of that, he gives us a TM for Steel Wing that we're never going to use. Then he registers our number in his Pokénav, which reveals that he actually had one all along. So with all the side quests finally out of the way, it's time for Brawly. Now Brawly is a fighting type gym leader, so we resist his moves. Which means we won't take as much, but then won't deal back as much, so... However, that's completely put to rest by his Machop using Seismic Toss, which does fixed amount of damage, and counter takes him below half before he uses a Karate Chop that survives the Machop, allowing Brawly to use a Super Potion, which takes it all the way back to full. Okay. So after a quick Karate Chop takes Machop back down to just above half, he continues to use Karate Chop until he finally goes down. Which brings out the Meditite, who sets up a light screen against the Pokemon that can't attack on its own, and then I misread the situation and use Safeguard while it sets up for Focus Punch, which actually does a lot of damage, and it's all for free because I, misread the situation. So it starts using Bulk Up next, meaning that the next one's going to do more, and yeah. Okay then. Well, yeah. We are gonna have to try that again. We do on the second attempt get past the Machop with more HP, and we do read the Focus Punch correctly, and counter takes it out. But then we only have 9 HP for the Makuhita, which means that Vital Throw is going to take us out. And it's clear we're going to have to come back to this later. So we skip over that one for now and go on to Mauville. But before we do that, we have to deal with some Team Aqua Bozos in Slateport. And the first of them opens up with Carvanha, which is a Dark type and has a Dark type move, I think. But either way, I planned ahead and depleted all of Punchy's PP so that it would start struggling immediately. And Carvanha does outspeed us, but Struggle does a lot of damage. And it also has Rough Skin. But either way, it wastes a turn using Focus Energy, and Struggle is able to finish it off. And that starts the next battle right away, which opens up with the Zubat. Not that big a deal, actually, because we do outspeed the Zubat, and Struggle does about a quarter damage. Okay. Well, I mean, the Zubat's not doing a whole lot to us, and it's only going to last a couple more turns. Astonish does, negative damage to us, and Struggle actually does a decent chunk to it. And it is going to ultimately go down. And then this second guy is going to send out his own Carvanha. And Rage is going to do absolutely nothing to us, and Struggle is going to leave it, reasonably damaged. But then Rage does nothing to us, and it's left on red health. And then Carvanha just uses Leer, which actually, legitimately does nothing and has no reason to exist before Struggle ends the battle. So even through the rough skin and recoil damage, we had absolutely no reason to worry about this at all. Then T-Mock was leader. Some dude named Archie shows up to see what's taking them so long and asks us if we're part of Team Magma, which of course we're not, and then he proceeds to exposition dump a bunch of information that we don't need to know or have any reason to care about. And then he threatens us with vague consequences. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, we can go on to Malville and get into another rival battle on Route 110. So he leads off with Lombre, which uses nature power that turns into Swift. So, counter actually does damage. And then another nature power turns into Swift, and it does a decent amount. So Lombre is left in yellow health before it starts growling. And then it uses nature power again and finally goes down. But then Brendan sends out Marshtomp, which can be a bit of a problem because it has both ground and water moves, which is both physical and special moves. That can make it kind of hard to predict between Counter and Mirror Coat which one to use. So I hope it goes for Mud Shot and use Counter, but it uses Bide. So we just go for Safeguard in order to stall that out. But then I think it's going to go for Water Gun and use Mirror Coat, but then it just uses Bide. And so I just use more Safeguards to stall out the Bide and then select Mirror Coat, hoping it'll use Water Gun, but then it uses Bide against the Pokemon that doesn't do any damage if no damage has been done to it. It's like Wobbuffet is the Pokemon that Bide would be if Bide was a Pokemon instead of a move. Like, what are you doing? Why are you being so annoying? But I start to really get the impression that Marshtomp is not going to attack until it runs out of Bide that it can use. And it just keeps using Bide, because it's worked out so well. It's done so much damage to us with Bide. And why not use Bide again? It's like, what are you doing? So I keep using Mirror Coat on the turns that after Bide unleashes all of the energy it has not stored up at all, and then what is, I don't know what this AI is doing. I'm thinking it's punishing me for trying to solo the game with just Wobbuffet. But what we just need for this battle to end Like, we just need Marshtomp to actually attack, and then the battle will be over. But yeah, Marshtomp still has PP for Bide, which means it's not going to do anything else. But just in case it does, we'll use Mirror Coat, and yeah, of course it uses Bide. So we're going to use more Safeguard to stall out these turns. Marshtomp unleashed energy, who knows from where, it hasn't gathered any from taking damage. And it still has PP left for Bide. Alright. But at this point, we only have 5 PP of Safeguard out of 25. So he has to be out of Bide, right? Surely he is. Finally, he's using Water Gun. He must be out of Bides. Then he uses a second Water Gun. And that takes him down to red health. And then a third Water Gun, and Marshtomp is finally out of here. Which leaves us with 36 HP for the Slugma. And it continues to be annoying. So we just... He uses Yawn, follows it up with Yawn, and then we fall asleep. And then it uses Ember. Okay, well, that's free damage for him. Then he uses Yawn while we're still asleep. So he uses Ember again. And we wake up and use Mirror Coat, which does about half. Then we survive an Ember on 3 HP and take out Slugma, ending what has to be the most annoying battle by far up to this point. And then Wally challenges us to a battle before we enter the gym, and it's not even worth talking about, so let's just move on. So the third gym leader of the region is Watson, and he's an electric type gym leader. So this should be easy, right? He's just going to use electric moves. Well, no. His Pokemon have access to normal moves, so we still have to do some predicting. So Voltorb can explode, but thankfully he opens up with Spark, and Mirror Coat does over half. And after Voltorb goes down, he sends out his Electrike, which can use Quick Attack, Shockwave, and some other things that it has no reason to know. So I go for Mirror Coat, and he does go for Shockwave. Then he goes for it again, and Mirror Coat takes it out. So the next Pokemon up is Magneton, and this thing likes to go for Sonic Boom, which is a normal fixed damage move, and he does exactly that. And then it goes for Supersonic, which misses. So nothing happened that turn. And then I go for a Mirror Coat, thinking, well, it's done its normal move, it's done its status move. Why not go for its special move? And then Manectric comes out as Punchy eats its Oranberry. This thing has Howl, Quick Attack, and Shockwave, and it opens up with Howl for some reason. Then on the next turn, it goes for Howl. All right, so it's setting up to use quick attack, right? Like it has to be. It's raising its physical attack. It's gonna go for its physical move. It goes for shockwave. So I misclick and use mirror coat and fall over backwards into doing over half damage. It's gonna go for quick attack, right? No, it raised its physical attack and then did 2 consecutive turns of Shockwave, a special move. So we beat Watson, because the AI likes to be dumb. All right, so up next we have to go to Meteor Falls and just do a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with anything. And then we run into Team Magma trying to steal a meteorite. We fail to stop them, and then Archie decides he wants to have a conversation. We really don't care about any of this. Like, just get out of here. Bye. So we have to follow Team Magma up to Mount Chimney and then fight Maxie. Okay. Yeah, the Pokemon doesn't make any sense sometimes. But regardless, Maxie opens up with Mightyena, and it has Bite, and it'll always go for Bite because it has super effective damage. And because this game is before the physical special split, Bite is a special move, and Mightyena is a dark type Pokemon, which means it's immune to Mirror Coat. Therefore, we have to rely on Struggle. The problem is, Struggle is doing negative damage to this thing, and Bite is doing a lot of damage to us. So, we basically already lost this battle. We are not going to win. Nothing matters in this first attempt. The accuracy drops don't matter. We're doing so little to this thing, and it's doing so much to us that we just lose. I well, we're done here. It's not gonna. Yeah. So after this battle happened, I went back to Petalburg City, ran around in the grass outside of it. I got just battling Poochyena. So just ignore everything else and battle Poochyena. And I got like 10 to 15 XP for each one I knocked out, and then I had to deplete my power points every time I healed at the Pokemon Center. I probably could have used potions to heal up between those battles, but like I didn't. And either way, it took way too long. And when Punchy finally leveled up, its attack stat shot up by 10 full points. Is 10 a lot? I it depends. The dollars in your wallet? No. Points for one stat or leveling up one time? Yes, absolutely. But even after that, I still had to level up some more before I could defeat the Mightyena. And finally got to go back and rematch with Maxie. And, I still wasn't doing very much to the Mightyena with each attack. But I did manage to get a secret weapon while I was training. Yeah, the intimidate actually does matter here, and it's rather annoying. And that's part of the reason we weren't doing much. And the sand attack is still rather annoying. But then the secret weapon I mentioned kicks in, the King's Rock. Now, for those of you who somehow don't know, the King's Rock is a held item that when the Pokemon that's holding it does damage to the opponent, if they were able to move first, there's a 10% chance that the opponent will flinch. And that flinch allows us to take out the Mightyena. Well, that along with the critical hit. So we then go on to Zubat with most of our health left. And the Zubat was way easier to take out than the Mightyena. Wing attack doesn't do much, and it looked like we were about to 3-shot, but then a super potion takes it back to full health. However, the second time around, no potion came out, and the Zubat goes down. Which just leaves the bulkiest Pokemon that Maxie has, which is a Camerupt. And it looks like we're not doing much to this thing with Struggle, but then it also doesn't do much to us with Ember. But it does have Magnitude, and it does land on Magnitude 8 once or twice, and that does way more damage than I want it to do. Okay, and then we even miss with our struggles a couple of times thanks to the sand attacks. And this battle is way closer than I want it to be, and it's really nerve-wracking, and I don't really want to talk about it very much. But then Punchy gets a clutch crit and manages to take out the Camerupt, and we finally get to move on. So Maxie makes several empty statements about being back later on at some point, and something about getting a special ball that will maybe do a thing at some point. It's all very exposition dumpy, and we're just ready to go. And then but before we can do that, Archie comes up for some reason and says a bunch of pointless things that nobody really cares about. But it's finally time for the next gym leader, and it's Flannery. On paper, Flannery is a fire-type gym leader, but like in practice, she has a lot of ground and rock-type moves. It's interesting. So Numel opens up with Sunny Day, and it will just waste one of our moves. But then it uses Overheat, and Overheat does a lot of damage, and it's boosted by the sun. And what that really means is that Mirror Coat takes it out in one shot. So then the Slugma comes out next, and it decides it wants to set up a light screen. Okay. So Mirror Coat ends up doing nothing, and the sun is still out, and then Slugma uses Overheat, which is nice, because that means it goes down to just one hit of Mirror Coat. So far things are looking pretty good. She's already down 2 Pokemon. But then Flannery sends out her own camera, which for some reason prefers to use tackle. So we switch over to using counter, and it doesn't do very much. Coffee. So camera up just keeps using tackle, which is nice. But then it stops at one point to use Sunny Day. Don't know why. It's not using any fire moves. It just keeps using tackle, but it does go down at some. It crits one of its tackles, and the counter takes it down. But then Torkoal comes out, and Torkoal has Attract, which is an extremely annoying move that makes Pokemon of the opposite gender not attack 50% of the time. And Punchy is a Pokemon of the opposite gender, which means it's not going to attack 50% of the time. I let off with Safeguard, hoping that would stop it, and it didn't. So, but Torkoal has 2 moves that it can go for. It can either go for Body Slam or Overheat, and it uses Body Slam. And then it uses another Body Slam, which took out the Torkoal. So, thankfully, the Attract didn't do what it was supposed to do, and we managed to get the Heat Badge from Flannery. Now, that would normally make Norman the next gym, but I think we have enough HP to beat Brawly now. So he leads off with his Machop as normal, and then Machop leads with Bulk Up. Okay. And then it uses another Bulk Up. And then I decided it's a good idea to go for Safeguard, which he uses another Bulk Up. Yeah, I saw that coming. So anyway, the next turn he uses Counter. I used Counter. My God, I have a script in front of me and I'm still saying wrong things. Machop used Seismic Toss, a fixed damage move, after bulking up 3 times. Anyway, Low Kick leaves Machop on just a sliver of health, and Brawly uses a Super Potion. But then he goes for Seismic Toss, which counter takes him down to less than half. Then he uses another Seismic Toss, and Machop goes down. So then Brawly sends out his Meditite, and I'm expecting this thing to do some setting up. So I go for Mirror Coat. Meditite does in fact use Bulk Up, which raises its attack and defense, and Mirror Coat does nothing. And then it goes for Light Screen, which causes Mirror Coat to do nothing. Then he goes for Bulk Up again, which causes us to do nothing. Then he goes for another Bulk Up. Which causes us to do nothing. God, how many turns has this Meditite been out and nothing has happened so far? So there's a chance he gets greedy and goes for 6, but I start to use counter just in case. Which is a good idea because he does go for focus punch. And then counter does all of the damage, and we are in excellent shape going into the Makuhita. So Makuhita decides he's going to open up with bulk up. So counter does nothing. And the light screen finally wears off, which makes absolutely no difference. Makuhita follows his previous bulk up with a bulk up. Okay, then. And so Vital Throw does very little damage, meaning that counter does not as much as I would like it to do. He still has over half health. So then he goes for bulk up, which raises his attack next, and then, Vital Throw does a little more damage, and counter takes him down to red HP. Then the Citrus Berry restores him back to above half, which causes him to use another bulk up, raising his attack even further. And then he follows that up with a Vital Throw, which will take him back down to red health. And then Brawly uses a super potion. Our counter PP is getting dangerously low at this point, which is not very good. We're at 4. So Makuhita uses Vital Throw, which, thanks to all the bulking up he's done, takes him to below half health. He then uses another Vital Throw, and counter is able to take the Makuhita down. Thank that this did not come down to us stalling out our own PP to use Struggle. That would have been incredibly annoying. So I don't normally show you the time during these runs, but I feel like it's worth pointing out that this challenge is currently at about 45 hours. For context, I have had challenges end at this amount of time, or at least be in the Elite Four. But for this one, we only just got the 4th gym badge. That's averaging to about 1 badge every 11 hours. Yeah. So now we're on to Norman. And he's the 5th gym leader who will not battle us until we have all 4 of the badges before him. So he leads off with Spinda, and this thing could go for either Facade or Teeter Dance. Thankfully, he goes for Facade instead, and as I select Counter, and he goes down to about half. So I predict Teeter Dance to come up next, and I block that with Safeguard. So no confusion this time. That's the hasty nature helping us out. And then it goes for Facade and goes down, which leads into Vigoroth, which misses the crit on its slash, and it goes down after 2 rounds of counter. Which brings us to the slacking. This thing decides it wants to open up by using counter, which of course does nothing because we cannot proactively attack and our counter gets wasted. So I play around the Truant by using Safeguard, and then on the next turn he goes for Facade. And Counter takes most of his health after that, at which point he eats his citrus berry and we eat our orange berry because we do not have access to citrus berries yet. So it's a Truant's turn, and to avoid wasting Counter we use Safeguard. And then Slacking goes for Facade again and is defeated by Counter. Linoon comes out next, and it can go for Belly Drum, but instead it goes for Slash, which is a high crit move that does not crit, and Counter does about half. Our Safeguard wears off, but that doesn't matter because Linoon goes for Headbutt, and then Counter gives us a first try victory against Norman. Probably one of the first ones we've had. But we have 5 badges now, and before we can go to get the 6th, we have to clear out some more Team Aqua people running around in the Weather Institute. And that means fighting this admin of theirs who is inferior to Courtney in every single way imaginable. So they lead off with Carvanha, and I anticipated this, so I depleted Punchy's PP so that we could use Struggle. Because they have Carvanha, and this thing is probably going to use either Bite or Crunch. I don't know. But anyway, Struggle sends it all the way down to red health, and we take some damage from Rough Skin and Recoil, and then it uses Scary Face. Okay. But then it dies to Struggle anyway, so who cares? So then, Not Courtney sends out her Mighty Inna, which uses Swagger. Which it does cause confusion, but it also raises our attack, so that's good for us. We fight through the confusion and deal about half damage to the Mighty Inna. Alright, so then it uses Bite and we hit ourselves in confusion, which, doesn't do all that much. Then it uses Bite and gets a flinch. And then it uses Bite again and goes down to Struggle. I'm just saying, Aqua Admin, whatever your name is, if you had been Magma Admin Courtney, you probably could have done a little bit better. But before we can get to Fortree, we have some more side quests to complete, and that means Brendan challenging us to a rival battle again. So he leads off with Lombre, and this is going to lead off with Fake Out, meaning we're gonna flinch and not do any damage. But he does like 5 damage to us, so it's fine. And this Lombre is annoying in other ways because it has a mixture of physical and special moves despite both of its stab types being special. So he goes for Absorb while we go for Counter, and while it barely does anything, it is still free damage. So I go for Counter again, and it goes for Absorb. And then I go for Counter a third time, and it goes for Absorb. So I finally get my act together and go for Mirror Coat, just in time for him to get off a crit with Absorb. No, but before I can get too proud of myself, now that I'm selecting Mirror Coat, he goes for Nature Power, which turns into Swift because, of course, that's what he's doing. So I switch back to using Counter, and he does go for Nature Power again, and he survives at about half health. Of course, now that I'm selecting Counter, he goes for Absorb. So I predict that the AI is going to cheat and use Counter again. And he does in fact use Nature Power, which is good for us. Okay, so he promptly switches to using Absorb again. Because of course he does. Why would he not be annoying? So I go for Counter, and he does go for Nature Power. And because I'm reading this switch of switching between Nature Power and Absorb, I switch over to Mirror Coat, and he uses Nature Power. So I go back to using Counter, and it does use Nature Power, and I finally take this thing out. And I really hope the rest of his Pokemon are not this annoying. So up next comes the Slugma, and the rain will weaken its fire moves. And that's assuming it actually uses any. So I predict it go for either Smog or Rock Slide, and it uses Harden. On the second turn, it uses Harden. Why is it like this? Why are you not just doing damage? I want you to do damage. Alright, so I'm hesitating on which one to use. I really want this thing to actually attack, but it uses Amnesia. And this Slugma right here is putting on a clinic of why non-damaging moves are just truly pointless. We're 4 turns into this battle and nothing has happened. And it goes for another Amnesia. So we're 5 turns in and it hasn't done anything. Okay, but it finally uses Ember, and Mirror Coat barely moves Slugma's HP bar. It uses Ember again, and it's left with about 3/4 of its health. I use Mirror Coat again, and it uses Rock Throw. Oh, but oh my, I just want this battle to be over. I just want this battle to be over. So I go for Counter, and it goes for Ember. Why are you like this? Quit it. I go for Mirror Coat, and this time it's correct, and it leaves the Slugma on about half health. Then I go for Mirror Coat again, and this time Ember is a crit, and Mirror Coat can do enough to take out the Slugma. That brings us to the Marsh Top, which I hope at this point does not have Bide. It goes for Mud Shot, and I went for Mirror Coat. However, I do switch over to Counter, and Marsh Top uses Takedown. Takedown crits and leaves us in red health. It's hit with recoil, and then Counter finally ends this battle. So now we can finally battle Winona. Winona will open up with Swablu, which this time around it opens up with Mirror Move, which will always fail if the opponent has not moved first. Then Swablu uses Safeguard, which causes nothing to happen. It finally goes for Aerial Ace, and Counter deals about a quarter health. It goes for Aerial Ace again, and Swablu is left at what looks like just under half. Then it uses Perish Song. There is no way we're winning through Perish Song, so we just have to reset. Alright, so this time Winona is going to open up with Swablu, she always does. But this time it's going to use Aerial Ace. And thankfully this time around it's not going to go for Perish Song, it just keeps using Aerial Ace. We just keep using Counter. And it just keeps using Aerial Ace until it finally goes down. So that brings out the Tropius. And Tropius opens up by using Aerial Ace. Counter deals about a quarter damage to it. And Winona really loves to use Synthesis on this one, so we go for Safeguard. And then, just as I think it's about to do something, it goes for Sunny Day. Alright, I don't know, maybe this thing has Chlorophyll, that might be why. It wants the extra speed against the Pokemon that it outspeeds. And then it goes for Aerial Ace. And the Sunlight is strong, that doesn't really matter. And it goes for another Aerial Ace, which takes it down to just about half. And this thing's been using Aerial Ace a lot, so I think maybe with the sun being up, it'll go for Solar Beam. So I go for Mirror Coat, and yeah. Solar Beam deals enough damage to us that Mirror Coat takes out the Tropius. And then she sends out Pelipper. Now this thing opens up with Protect, but I had gone for Safeguard anyway, thinking it might use Supersonic. The Sunlight fades and it goes for Aerial Ace. Winona has put Aerial Ace on all of her Pokemon and she loves to use it. So this thing has between half and 3/4 health left. I'm not sure. But either way, it goes for Protect, and then it protects again, and while the double Protect is always impressive, it's absolutely meaningless against Wobbuffet. Then it crits its next Aerial Ace and goes down, which brings out Skarmory. This one is slightly less annoying. It opens with Steel Wing, and Counter takes it down to just about half health. And it does have Sand Attack, so I go for Safeguard, hoping in vain that it would somehow stop the accuracy from lowering, but it doesn't. But then it goes for Steel Wing, and Counter is able to take it out. And that just leaves the famous dancing Altaria that prefers to dance around the field instead of trying to win the battle. And that's exactly what it does. It'll Dragon Dance, then it'll Dragon Dance again, then it uses Earthquake, which takes us down to about 35 HP and does well over half to the Altaria. That causes the Altaria to eat its citrus berry. And then its next attack leaves us with 2 HP, and we win the battle. Now, you might be thinking that we can go on to the next gym, but no. Well, we have to take a detour to Mount Pyre, and we get there a little too late to stop either team from taking the magical balls, but we do get the magma emblem that somebody managed to drop. Meaning it's time for the magma hideout nonsense. So here we have to fight against Maxie again, and he of course leads off with Mighty Enna. So we go for Safeguard to prevent confusion shenanigans, and Mighty Enna uses Scary Face. Now you might be wondering why we're not using Struggle, and that's because this time around Mighty Enna uses Takedown instead of Crunch or Bite. And the Takedown crits, which allows for Counter to be a one-shot. Up next comes the Crobat, and this thing does have Bite, which you'll remember is a special move in this gen. And that means we use Mirror Coat to take it down to just over half. Now Maxie does have Super Potions, and so I go for another Safeguard just to avoid wasting any of our moves. I go for Counter, expecting Wing Attack, but then it goes for Bite. And after that, I go for Mirror Coat, and it does go for Bite again. And this time it's left at just above red, it looks like. And then I go for Counter, and Maxie uses a Super Potion. Lovely. So I go for Mirror Coat again, and it goes for Bite. That completely nullifies the Super Potion, and then it goes for Bite again. Okay. So up next comes the Camerupt, which was a huge problem when we were relying on Struggle. Well, but this time around we have Counter and Mirror Coat, so hopefully it won't be nearly as bad. So he uses Amnesia first, making absolutely nothing happen, but then it goes for Earthquake, and Counter does all of the damage. So now that the Team Magma stuff is done, it's time to clear out the Team Aqua hideout. But of course, we have to listen to Maxie drone on for a bit. Anyway, once we get to the Aqua hideout, that means we have to fight some random Aqua admin who is decidedly not Magma admin Courtney. So he leads off with his Mightyena, and that uses Scary Face after we get off the struggle. However, due to the speed drop, Mightyena outspeeds us and uses Swagger. Which means that our next struggle is going to do a lot more damage. But then Aqua Admin Buff Dude immediately uses a super potion, which we couldn't care less about since struggle takes him back down to exactly where he was. Then Mightyena goes for Odor Sleuth just in time for us to snap out and go down. Then Goldback comes out and uses Confuse Ray, meaning we're back to being confused. It's fine, we're not doing much to ourselves. So Bite gets a flinch, and on the following turn, Punchy punches himself. Then the Golbat just casually gets 2 flinches in a row, which is complete nonsense. However, when we finally snap out of confusion, we leave the Golbat at right around half damage. And then it bites us and gets another flinch, but then immediately goes down. And that's it. Why do I think he had a Sharpedo? Like, there's no way Courtney would have underestimated her opponents like this. Be more like Courtney, guy. Either way, we're up to Tate and Eliza. And they open up with Claydol and Xatu. So I send out both Punchy and Sapphire, and well, Sapphire's not going to do anything except try to teleport, so maybe she'll get her own video someday, but this one's about Punchy. So I have Punchy go for counter, Xatu goes for Calm Mind, and Claydol goes for Earthquake. How Xatu avoids the Earthquake due to being Flying type, but Punchy's counter does massive damage to Claydol. And by the way, I did pick up the Shell Bell for this fight, and it's very helpful, and you'll see why later. So Xatu takes out Sapphire with Psychic, and Claydol uses another Earthquake before going down to counter. Solrock then comes out to replace the Claydol, and this thing has a tendency to set out the sun when it comes out. Xatu is most likely going for another Calm Mind, so I select Safeguard in order to avoid wasting either counter or Mirror Coat. And yeah, I was correct, and absolutely no damage is done to anybody this turn. So on the next turn, Xatu goes for Calm Mind, and Solrock goes for Solar Beam, which it can now use in one turn thanks to the sun being out. So I go for Mirror Coat, which does do a lot of damage back to the Solrock. And, then the Solrock eats its citrus berry somehow, even though it doesn't have a mouth. How does it do that? How is Solrock eating a berry when it doesn't have a mouth? I'm confused. So Xatu goes for another Calm Mind, and Solrock goes for Flamethrower, which does do some damage since it is being boosted by the sun. And Solrock goes all the way down to red health. So Tate and Liza then use a hyper potion on the Solrock, restoring it up to full HP, and Xatu uses Psychic on Punchy.
It's 11 hours.
Which means that Mirror Coat can finally take this annoying totem bird off the field. And now it's a 2v1 as Lunatone takes the field. So Lunatone is going to go for Psychic, and then Solrock is going to go for Solar Beam. So I have selected Mirror Coat here, and it goes for the Solrock. Now, the way that Counter and Mirror Coat work in double battles, for those of you who don't know, is that only the most recent move to hit the Pokemon using Counter or Mirror Coat is taken into consideration. So in this situation, where Lunatone hits us with Psychic and Solrock hits us with Solar Beam, only the Solar Beam is being looked at by Mirror Coat. And it only does damage to the Solrock since that's the Pokemon that hit us most recently before using either one of those moves. And it's only taking into consideration the damage that Solar Beam did, not Psychic. So, on the next turn, the Lunatone is going to use its Calm Mind, and Solrock is going to use Sunny Day again, since the sun has faded. So, the Mirror Coat is just going to fizzle out and not do anything. It's really annoying when nothing happens because opponents don't try to win. But anyway, Lunatone uses another Calm Mind, and Solrock uses a Sun-boosted Flamethrower. That leaves Punchy in red health, but allows Mirror Coat to take out the Solrock, making a 1v1, as the Shell Bell restores us back up to yellow health. So in situations like this, Solrock likes to use Hypnosis, so I go for Safeguard to cover for that possibility, but it's using Calm Mind instead, which is fine. It can't use Hypnosis now, so it goes for Light Screen instead. The continued presence of the sun is now entirely irrelevant. And then Lunatone does finally attack, unleashing a powerful psychic attack that leaves us on just a sliver of HP, but that's enough for Mirror Coat to take it out. And the 7th gym badge is finally ours. And that's a victory that would not have been possible if the Shell Bell had not given us enough HP back in order to survive that final attack. But before we can continue, it's time to wrap up the Team Magma storyline. So we team up with Steven against Maxie and Tabitha. Maxie, what are you doing? Where's Courtney? This battle isn't even worth having. It's too easy if we're not battling against Courtney. Who is Tabitha? Why do you have Tabitha? Go get Courtney and then we can have a battle worth having. Anyway, I'm using struggle strats again in order to counter the Mighty Innis. But the counter is not... God, I even have a script this time and I'm still saying wrong words. Anyway, none of them are doing damage. So Metang eventually decides to use Metal Claw on the Mighty Inna, and Camera uses Focus Energy, which does nothing. Like, I'm the only one here who is just consistently attempting to win the battle. And like, the Metang is using Reflect. Well, why is it using Reflect? The Mighty Inna uses Swagger on the Metang, and Camera is continuing to not attack, choosing instead to go for Amnesia. Like, I guess there's just something that Camera really wants to forget. Like all the times it's lost battles due to not damaging its opponent. So Metang misses Metal Claw. Mighty Inna uses Taunt. And Camera misses its takedown for a big old nothing burger of a turn. But Mighty Inna, who is now in red health due to the consistent damage that Punchy has been doing this whole time, uses Swagger on Punchy as Metang manages to miss 2 Metal Claws in a row. And Camera lands a crit takedown on Metang, which somehow does negative damage. And Punchy struggles Camera down to about half health. Metang hurts itself in confusion, and Mighty Inna uses Taunt. Anyway, God, it's just why do damage? So Punchy snaps out of its confusion and takes out the Mighty Inna, which causes a second Camera to come out, and Metang finally gets its act together to take out the first Camera. So we've finally taken out one of each of their Pokemon. And then Golbat comes out and uses Amnesia. So we're doing this again. Struggle, but manages to do about a quarter damage to this new Camera, and a bite from the Golbat does barely anything. And Metang sets up Reflect. Now it has Mirror Coat, it has Metal Claw, which could do a lot to the Camera. It has a Psychic Attack that could do a lot to the Golbat. But it sets up Reflect before going down. Thank you, Metang. That was very helpful. Steven then sends out his Skarmory, and Struggle gets a crit on Golbat and leaves it at just above red health. On the next turn, Skarmory uses Steel Wing and takes out the Golbat. Tabitha then sends out their own Mighty Inna as Camerupt uses an Earthquake. Yeah, and also the Intimidate goes off, which makes no difference at all, I don't think. The Punchy is left at just around half HP, and the new Mighty Inna is left in red. And then Punchy's Struggle takes out the Mighty Inna before it's able to actually do anything beyond just getting the Intimidate off. So Skarmory then uses Toxic on the Camerupt, and the camera uses takedown on Skarmory. Punchy's struggle then leaves camera up at about half health. Up next, Skarmory is going to use Protect, and the camera targets it for takedown. And in the end, camera up is going to be left in red health. After that, an aerial ace from the Skarmory is going to take out the camera up. Which means all that's left is Maxie's Crobat. So Punchy's struggled is doing not even a quarter damage to it. But it's still a 2v1. Skarmory could do something useful. But instead it uses Protect. And Crobat targets it with Mean Look for some reason. I don't understand. Skarmory hits the double Protect, which is always interesting to see. And Crobat targets it with Wing Attack. And Punchy crits with Struggle, leaving Crobat at just above red health, it looks like. Crobat continues to ignore Punchy and targets the Skarmory with Confuse Ray, at which point the Skarmory hits itself, and then Punchy leaves Crobat in red health. Crobat will finally hit Punchy with a move, that being Mean Look. And then Skarmory finally decides to be helpful and finishes off the Crobat with Steel Wing. Which brings the Team Magma storyline to a close. Of course, it can't ever just be quick. The Team Magma guys have to give us a speech about volcanoes and goals and other stuff we really don't care about. But then it's time to go close out the Team Aqua nonsense. Then we find Maxie's blue counterpart underwater, where he's making weird eyes at a giant fish. He leads off with Mightyena, which isn't even much of a surprise anymore that everybody and their dog has a Mightyena. And we're going to lead off with Safeguard in order to protect against confusion, and it's using Scary Face. After that, it uses a takedown, and counter leaves it at just below half health. So I'm thinking, maybe I should go for Safeguard in case he uses Super Potion, but then I decide to go for Counter just in case, and he uses the Super Potion. Anyway, he goes for Takedown again, and Counter takes it down below half health again. He's going to go for another takedown, and then now Counter is going to finish it off. Boom. There's the takedown, there's the recoil, there's the counter. And Archie is going to send out his Crobat next. Just in time for Safeguard to wear off. So we set up another one to avoid confusion, but Crobat outspeeds us and we get confused anyway. So then we go for Mirror Coat, Because he might use bite or crunch or something like that, but he goes for air cutter. But we stick with using mirror code, and this time it does use crunch, and it goes down to about half health. But then Archie uses a super potion, and we finally snap out of confusion. Crobat goes for bite again and falls back below half. Crobat goes for bite again, and Mirror Code is going to take it down back below half. And then Shellbell. Yeah, see, the Shellbell makes a bit of a difference, doesn't it? Anyway, one more bite is going to take out the Crobat. Which leaves just Archie's Sharpedo. And we're going to try to set up Safeguard to avoid any kind of swagger confusion shenanigans, but then it goes for Taunt, which blocks the Safeguard from happening. So Sharpedo goes for Slash, and Counter is going to take it down to about half. We do take damage from Rough Skin, but it's fine. The next Slash crits, leaving us pretty low on health, and Counter's going to take it out. After the Rough Skin and the Shell Bell both activate, we're going to have about 19 HP left, but we've won the battle. And despite having won the battle, though, Archie still waves around the red orb, which wakes up Kyogre. But since he has the wrong one, Kyogre gets mad and flies off out of there or teleports or something. Then we get teleported back to the surface, and then Maxie, Archie, and Steven have a bunch of dialogue that really doesn't matter to what we're trying to do here. Like, I'm just trying to beat the league with the Wobbuffet, and now I have to deal with super ancient Pokemon and sun and rain and so I have Sapphire teleport us back to Satopolis and kicking off some more cutscenes that I think are pretty cool, so I'm just gonna let them play out. Alright. Now it's finally time for the last gym leader, Juan. This battle starts off decently well. It's Punchy versus Love Disc. However, after a long, annoying, arduous battle against Love Disc, in which it finally ends up going down, Juan sends out his Crawdont. This thing has the Dark type for absolutely no reason. And its only damaging moves are special. Meaning, we're not gonna. So, in order to defeat Juan, I had two choices. I could either level up until I could beat the Crawdont in about 2 or 3 hits with Struggle, which is not gonna happen. I tried. A lot. Or I could find the leftovers. Now, normally, leftovers is a post-game item that has one single fixed location on the SS title, which you have to beat the game in order to get on. However, there is another way to get it before that. Starting at level 81, a Pokemon with the ability Pickup, which before the post game is exactly Zigzagoon, has a 1% chance of holding leftovers after every battle. So get a Pokemon with Pickup, Zigzagoon, to level 81, beat up a bunch of random wild Pokemon, and after every single one of those Pokemon goes down, assuming that that Zigzagoon was not holding an item when the battle started, there is a 1% chance that it will be holding leftovers. Now, if that sounds like a tedious process that takes entirely way too long, that's because it is. It took 2 or 3 weeks to do, and after intentionally raising one Zigzagoon to level 81 in order for it to have the chance of holding Pickup, in order for it to have a chance of holding leftovers, there were 2 more that reached that level before one of them finally had leftovers. Which means I was finally able to go back to rematch Juan. Now here's how that battle went after I got the leftovers. Juan's Love Disc would open up with Water Pulse. Now the confusion didn't happen, thankfully, and Struggle takes Love Disc to about half. Leftovers kicks in and heals us back to full. Love Disc misses with Sweet Kiss and Struggle takes it out. And thanks to the leftovers, we're at full health going into Crawdont. Crawdont's first Crab Hammer misses, and Struggle does not much, in spite of us being 30 levels higher. Another Struggle takes it down to just above half health, and Crab Hammer connects and doesn't do much, thankfully. Struggle would take Crawdont to just above red health, and Crawdont tries to taunt the Pokemon that's been struggling this entire battle. Struggle then leaves Crawdont at a sliver of health, as Crabhammer misses. Juan then uses Hyper Potion. Struggle continues to not do much. And a couple more puts Crawdon at just above half. And Crawdon uses Taunt again. Okay. Another struggle is going to take Crawdon down to about a quarter health. And Taunt just fails to do anything. And one final struggle takes out the Crawdon at long last. Which means we can finally get to Whiscash. The struggle crits, and Whiscash goes down to about half health. This thing then uses Earthquake. And it doesn't do much. Struggle crits again. And Whiscash is left at a sliver of health. God, what is with my opponent Pokemon surviving like this? Juan seems to have run out of potions and lets the Whiscash go down as a third crit in a row happens. It feels like that's going to come back and bite me later. Celio comes out to replace the Whiscash and uses Aurora Beam. And Struggle does about a quarter health. Not bad. And Struggle crits and takes Celio down to yellow. While another Aurora Beam does nothing. It's not doing anything. It does negative damage. And one final struggle takes down the Celio. Juan's final Pokemon comes out, and it's Kingdra. And this thing is incredibly annoying. I am not going to make you sit through this battle. This video is already over an hour and a half long. And from the time Juan sent the Kingdra out to the time it fell off the screen was just under 15 and a half minutes. And you already know how that battle went. Kingdra's moves are Water Pulse, Smoke Screen, Double Team, and Rest. You will notice only one of those moves does any damage. And the way you win at Pokemon is by doing damage to your opponent until their HP hits 0. The AI does not do that. He does not use Water Pulse on consecutive turns, meaning that any damage it does is healed up by the leftovers by the time he does it again, resulting in its PP getting depleted. And then, because of Smokescreen and Double Team, we don't hit him very often, and when we do, that damage is negated by Rest, until their power points are also depleted to 0. And the result is a long, annoying, uninteresting nothing burger of a battle that ends in Kingdra KOing itself with recoil from Struggle. Good God. So, after the absolute nightmare of a battle that was Juan's Kingdra, we have to fight Wally in Victory Road before we get to the Elite Four. Wally is going to lead off with Altaria, and this thing will almost certainly start to dance. So we use Safeguard. It does in fact use Dragon Dance, and then for some reason I go for Mirror Coat. I don't know, maybe I thought it was going to Dragon Breath. but it uses aerial ace and gets off some free damage. Then I go for counter and it uses Dragon Dance again. Then the next turn sees another Dragon Dance and counter, which results in nothing happening. Then another big old nothing burger of a turn happens. And this is why I hate non-damaging moves. They just result in multiple turns in a row of nothing happening. Altaria even sets up its own safeguard for some reason. But then Altaria finally uses Aerial Ace, which is met with counter, and Altaria goes down. And then Wally sends out Delcatty. And we're going to start off with Safeguard in order for Assist to not cause us any problems. Delcatty uses Sing, which fails to connect because of the Safeguard. It then goes for Feint Attack, and it gets met with Mirror Coat. As I said, Feint Attack, Mirror Coat, and that takes it down to about a quarter health. By about a quarter health. I've learned to talk. Anyway, then it goes for another Feint Attack, which hits another Mirror Coat. Our Safeguard wears off. We get healed up by the leftovers. And then Delcatty gets healed up by full restore while I go for Mirror Coats. However, at the time, I missed that our Safeguard wore off, and then Delcatty uses Sing. Oh yeah, never mind. Uses Feint Attack into Mirror Coat first. I'm looking at a script and still getting stuff wrong. What is wrong with me? Anyway, there's the Sing. So we have to be asleep for a while. But while we are asleep, I'm going to select Safeguard so that we don't have to go through this again. So while we're he's going to use Assist and he's going to get some damage done, but it's going to get healed up by leftovers. But while we're asleep, it goes for Charm for some reason. Anyway, we wake up and finally get the Safeguard back, and Delcatty's going to use Feint Attack. And that damage is just going to get healed up by the leftovers. I misclick again and use Safeguard, and its assist goes into Giga Drain, which doesn't really matter because we are a Wobbuffet that's holding leftovers. But then I go a little more careful and I make sure to select Mirror Coat this time, and Delcatty sends out a Feint Attack, which takes it down to about a quarter health. And we try to end it with Mirror Coat, but then Delcatty uses Assist, which lands on Supersonic, which just misses. I thought for some reason that safeguard had worn off, but it didn't. But it doesn't matter because Delcatty just uses Screech. So I go for Mirror Coat. Delcatty's assist lands on Dragon Breath, and this cat finally goes down. So up next comes Magneton, and the first thing we're going to do is use Safeguard in order to avoid paralysis shenanigans. So Magneton goes for Thunderbolt, which does land on some free damage, but it's not going to paralyze us because of the Safeguard. So on the next turn, we go for Mirror Coats, but we're met with Screech instead. And then Magneton starts to go for Tri-Attack, which for some reason is a physical move, despite it using fire, ice, and thunder. Electric, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. So this is going to happen. So we go for counter. Magneton goes for Tri-Attack, and then goes down to red health. Wally decides not to heal this thing. So on the next turn, he goes for Tri-Attack and gets met with counter and then goes down. So you can see those screeches are causing the physical moves to do decent damage to us, but hey, we have a huge HP pool. It's fine if you do a lot of damage. That just means counter is more likely to take you out. But then Roselia comes in, and we have to replace our Safeguard for purposes of both sleep and poison, which ends up being a good call because Roselia is going to open up with Toxic. And then follows that up with Giga Drain, and Mirror Coat takes it down to below half health. After that turn, Roselia is going to use Magical Leaf, and Mirror Coat is going to take Roselia out of the battle. Which just leaves Wally's final Pokemon is Gardevoir. This one can use either Psychic or Future Sight. So we select Safeguard in prediction of the Future Sight, which is exactly what ends up happening. Then, for some reason, I decide to go for another Safeguard, and Gardevoir goes for the Double Team. So, this is another one of those battles where the Pokemon that we're up against has moves that don't interact with Counter or Mirror Coats. And it's going to use those moves until they run out of power points. Meaning this is going to be a very long, very annoying battle for absolutely no reason. Like, the game is seriously trying to punish me for using Wobbuffet. It's so annoying. Nothing happens for so long. Like, we're going for Mirror Coat, and it just uses Future Sight. We use Safeguard because it's not going to attack for a while, and then the Future Sight happens. The Future Sight does nothing. The Future Sight gets completely negated by the leftovers, and it uses Future Sight again. And all all the while, it's over there setting up double teams, and when it finishes setting up the double teams, it's going to start setting up calm minds, and well, we're just going to be here a while. We keep stalling out the future site with safeguards because the alternative is to waste mirror coats, which we really don't want to do. I mean, we could waste counters, but that's fine. Eventually, though, Gardevoir does use a psychic and then immediately goes back to setting up and using future sights and there's another future sights. And then there's another double team. It's fine. Well, it's going to end eventually. It has to start using psychic at some point, right? And even if not, then we'll eventually start to struggle. There's a calm mind. That's good, right? That means something's going to happen soon. We took the future sight attack. It does nothing, and it uses future sight. Oh, come on. Please attack. Please just attack. You have psychic. Use it. It's a good move. And there's calm mind. Can you please use psychic? I want you to use psychic. Please. And there's psychic again. Okay. And our Spadef fell, which hopefully incentivizes more psychics to happen. Hopefully, maybe. You used all those calm minds and future sight is doing nothing. And it uses future sight. Oh. Okay, so we're going to use Mirror Coat. It uses Psychic. That did a lot of damage. And Mirror Coat misses. Oh my god. Okay. Psychic. Damage. Mirror Coats. Missed. Ah. Future Sights. Okay, that actually did something. Okay, Future Sight. Of course. Why not? Why not? Wobbuffet. Okay. Calm Mind. Oh, good lord. Are we gonna do damage to this thing soon? Okay, there's Psychic. That did a lot. Miracle connects. And Gardevoir goes down. We've beaten Wally, finally. That means it's time for the Elite Four. So up first is Sydney, the Dark-type user. This means we're going to have to use Struggle, which is not particularly fun to watch, but it's the only way Wobbuffet is getting out of this. He leads off with Mighty Inna. No surprise there. And everybody and their dog has a Mighty Inna. So he uses Sand Attack first, which is annoying. I wish he would not do that. So Struggle connects, it crits, and Mighty Inna has like 1 HP left. And why does that keep happening? Anyway, Sydney is going to use full restore, and we're just going to keep on struggling. Look, we're on the struggle bus today. So struggle does about a quarter damage, I think, to Mighty Inna. It's fine, we have leftovers healing us every turn. Struggle takes it down to about half, I think. That looks like about half, maybe a little bit more. So this Mighty Inna is going to keep using Sand Attack. Punchy misses a struggle, and Crunch comes in. Alright, it looks like he's at about a quarter health. Mighty Inna's still using Crunch. It's doing more than what feels good. Okay, Struggle connects again, and why do you keep surviving? Like, barely, I can barely see the red. Okay, is he going to heal this time? I hope he doesn't heal. That would be so annoying. Leftovers takes us back up to green. He doesn't heal, and Struggle connects. The Mighty Inna is down. Okay, so up next comes the Shift Tree, and okay, leftovers, and it doesn't do very much. And he's going to double team. All the accuracy shenanigans. It's not fun. I don't like it. Okay, so he survived. Just over half. Extra sensory does nothing. Okay. Well, on the one hand, we're getting healed by more damage than what extra sensory is doing. So we missed our struggle, but we got hit with swagger. So we are confused. There is a chance we'll hit ourselves. We break through the confusion, but then miss. Extra sensory comes out and does nothing. Okay, so this time we break through the confusion. And come on. Like, that has to be just 1 HP, right? Like, he lived on exactly 1. So Torment does not matter. It does nothing. And after all of that, Sydney chooses not to heal, and then we miss. But we're now at more HP than what we started with, thanks to the leftovers and extra sensory doing no damage. We snap out of confusion and miss again before taking another extra sensory. It's fine. We hit the next one, and Shift Tree goes down. But now comes the Cacturn, and thankfully this Pokemon doesn't have any accuracy shenanigans to pile on. Struggle is doing over half. Okay, that's good, but then we get hit with Cotton Spore. That's fine, it doesn't matter. Our speed goes down, but it'll ultimately be fine, right? Like, what's the worst that could happen? Anyway, feint attack connects, but then the cacturn falls to struggle. And up next is Crawdaunt. It's fine. It's fine. Crawdaunt uses Surf. Struggle comes out, it connects, and it's at above half. Okay. Well, he's using Surf again. Is this going to take it out? No, it survives in red, because of course it does. Okay. But he has full restore. And Struggle misses, because of course. Alright, Struggle again. Swords Dance, that's fine. He hasn't used a physical move yet. Okay, he's at just over half. And any chance we take? Okay, Strength is not good. But we crit. We crit and the Crawdaunt goes down. We're at just over half health thanks to the leftovers, and Sydney's only Pokemon remaining is Absol. Okay, it's going to use its own Swords Dance. That's fine. Struggle is going to take it down. How far? About half. Okay. Okay, Citrus Berry is fine. Okay, it has Rock Slide. That's... Oh, it flinched. Anyway. Okay, it missed its own Rock Slide. It missed the Rock Slide, and then we missed Struggle. Oh boy. Okay, Rock Slide connects. Will it flinch again? No. And it survives on red. Okay. There's still a chance we win, right? Slash. It didn't crit. Struggle connects, we win. We've gotten by Sydney. That's 1/4 of the Elite Four down. So up next is Phoebe. Phoebe is the first ever Ghost-type Elite Four member. And remember that in this gen, Ghost moves are physical, which is a choice that was made. And Ghost-type Pokemon are immune to fighting moves, such as Counter. That means more struggling. Yay, Struggle. Yay, Protect. Yay, Curse. We are not winning this battle through Curse. So it's time to restart. Yeah, that restart. And on attempt number 2, we use Struggle. It uses Protect.
It's 12 hours.
What we're not particularly worried about wasting power points because we are using Struggle and it uses Curse. Yeah, Phoebe, can we not use Curse? Thank you. Anyway, we're gonna Struggle. And it uses Curse. But can you please not do that? It's really annoying. It makes this battle like not winnable. Anyway, eventually we do make it all the way to Sableye, and then it uses Feint Attack and we lose. Eventually, though, we do get a successful attempt at Phoebe. And it naturally starts with Dusclops using Protect on turn 1. Then on turn 2, it's gonna use Confuse Ray. Always fun to be confused, especially when there's nothing you can do about it. Then we end up being so confused that we punch ourselves in the face, and then it shadow punches us in the face. Oh, yeah. Struggle does manage to get the Dusclops down to about a quarter, and Shadow Punch doesn't do much without a crit. And it does use Protect, but it's fine because that's a free round of leftovers. More leftovers is always a good thing. And then we fight through the confusion, and Dusclops goes down. Okay, the rest of her Pokemon do not have Curse. That's fine. This is good. We're in a good position. Up next is the Banets. We finally snap out of confusion and do just under half damage. Banette then uses Grudge for absolutely no reason. After Leftovers heals us, a second struggle leaves Banette in red health, and then it goes for Grudge again. The Leftovers heals us up, and we're almost at full health. And then Phoebe uses full restore and takes Banette all the way to full health. However, Struggle takes it back down to just over half. A round of Leftovers takes us 1 point shy of full, and Struggle takes Banette down back to red and uses Grudge again. The next turn, Struggle takes Banette down, and I have no idea what Grudge even does. So Phoebe sends out her second Banette, and Struggle will do about the same amount of damage to this one as it did to the other one, leaving it at just over half health. This one, though, decides to use Shadow Ball, and that does a lot more than I want it to. So we use Struggle again, and that takes it down to red health. And Banette will use a Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball, a physical move, will lower our special defense. That is a choice that somebody made. Phoebe decides not to full restore this Banette, and then it goes down. That means her next Pokemon is going to be the second Dusclops, and thankfully this Dusclops does not have Curse, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't have Protect either. And Struggle does about a quarter to it, maybe a little less. Dusclops responds to that with Shadow Ball, which once again drops our special defense. I that I don't know what to tell you. Pokemon is gonna Pokemon sometimes. Struggle takes Dusclops down to what looks like just above half, and after a Shadow Ball, its Citrus Berry is going to activate. And that completely undoes the damage we did that turn. So Struggle is going to take Dusclops down to about half again, and I am so glad that Shadow Ball is a physical move in this gen because we've just had so many Spadef drops in this battle alone. So on the next turn, Dusclops is going to go down to red health and respond with the Shadow Ball again. We are taking so much damage. There's so many special defense drops happening. It's a whole thing. It's insane. It's nerve-wracking. It's just edge of your seat stuff, folks. That was a terrible accent. I don't even know what that was. But anyway, Phoebe decides to use another full restore, and Punchy is hovering at just around half health. Struggle takes Dusclops down to half again when it continues to use Shadow Ball. We keep getting leftovers every turn. Our special defense is falling rapidly. Struggle takes Dusclops down to just over red, and now Dusclops is using Ice Beam, which does a lot thanks to all the Spadef drops we've had until now. However, it's too little, too late, because Dusclops falls. That leaves just the Sableye to struggle against. This thing is far less bulky than Dusclops, and Struggle leaves it at just over half. And it decides it wants to be annoying and try using Double Team. We get another round of leftovers. And the Double Team doesn't matter because our next attack hits and it lives on red. What is with all the enemy Pokemon living on red? Feint Attack does a ton of damage, but Phoebe appears to have run out of full restores. And one last struggle sends Sableye packing, and it's time for us to move on to Glacia. And the good news is the remainder of the battles in this playthrough can be affected by both Counter and Mirror Coat. We don't have to use Struggle anymore, so we are able to use Ethers to restore all of our moves' power points. Glacia sends out Celio first, and we set up a safeguard to avoid freezing. Celio responds by setting up Hail. Now this particular Celio likes to use Body Slam, but because we set up safeguard, it can't paralyze us. So we go for Counter. And while that does very little to us, it does not much more to it. Thankfully, though, the leftovers cancels out the hail damage. Another body slam comes in, and another counter leaves Helio at around half health. And after leftovers cancels out the hail damage, one final body slam crits us, and counter takes out Celio. Glacia sends out her Glalie next. The hail is continuing to fall. We are continuing to heal up every turn thanks to leftovers. And we select Mirror Coat because this Glalie is using Icy Wind and it drops our speed. Not that we were using it, but another Mirror Coat takes Glalie down by about a quarter. Up next, Glalie is going to use Crunch. That's a super effective move, and Mirror Coat leaves Glalie just above red health. Now we go for Mirror Coat just in case, but Glacia is going to use a full restore. Alright, not ideal, but we get free leftovers. There's no hail falling, so that's just pure recovery. Glalie uses Light Screen for some reason. I would prefer not to have our Mirror Coat power points wasted, but okay. Glalie goes for Crunch, and Mirror Coat leaves Glalie just over half health. Okay, a second Crunch gets a higher damage roll, and then Mirror Coat takes out the Glalie. Glacia responds to that Glalie going down by sending out another Glalie. This one is going to set up hail. Yep, there's the hail. Alright, that means our pure recovery is gone, but we're not taking much damage. Alright. Glalie sends out a Shadow Ball, and we use Counter, and that deals way over half damage. The Glalie's gonna send out another Shadow Ball, and then another Counter's gonna take it down. Counter, Shadow Ball. Super effective damage. There's the counter, and Glalie is gone. The second Celio comes out, and leftovers continues to negate the hail damage. We're gonna go for Safeguard just in case, and Celio has a tract. See, this is why I like using female Pokemon in these playthroughs. And it took so long to get just one Wobbuffet with a hasty nature. I was not gonna keep doing that, looking for another one, but there's like 4 or 5 Pokemon that use a tract in this game, and they all happen to be female. Anyway, I went for Counter. I misread. I thought this thing was going to use Body Slam, but it used Blizzard. It got some free damage. So I go for Mirror Coats, and it uses Hail. So nothing happened at all. The immobilization didn't matter. And Celio decides to miss with its Blizzard, and the next Mirror Coat does absolutely nothing. Just wasted power points. And the hail continues to fall. And the leftovers means that that doesn't matter. So we go for mirror coats. Celio misses. It's doing the check for affection and nothing happens at all that turn. We do mirror coat. Blizzard misses again. And the hail continues to fall. We use mirror coat. It misses. We're immobilized. And the hail stops. So we get a little bit of free recovery. Then Celio uses hail. And we're immobilized, which doesn't matter because no damage was done. So the hail falls, the leftovers activates. We select mirror coat and it uses double edge. Okay, I guess it's out of special moves. And then, of course, the hail falls. The leftovers activates, and we go for counter while it uses double edge. And we're immobilized. Oh my god. So many turns have passed and so little has happened. It continues to use double edge. And this time we actually get some damage. Finally, progress is being made. Alright, we're going to go for counter again. It uses double edge. It's hit with recoil. We're in love with Celio. Counter goes through. Does it go down? No. Alright, the hail stops. We're selecting counter and full restore. All of that work for nothing. Okay, we get some free leftovers recovery. We select counter, it uses hail. Why? Okay, Celio's going for double edge. And can we hit it this time? We do, and it looks like it's not too far from half. Alright, this thing's going to keep going for double edge, so we're just going to select counter. There's the double edge. It's hit with recoil. We're in love. Counter connects. Oh, are you kidding me? This thing is being so annoying for absolutely no reason. Okay, double edge. If this connects, we win. We're immobilized. Isn't this such a fun mechanic? I absolutely love it! I love that they added attract into the game. It's my favorite move. Okay, double edge. Recoil. In love. Immobilized. The hail stopped and it sets the hail back up. And of course, we were not immobilized on this turn. Okay. There's the double edge. There's the recoil. Affection check. And the Celio is finally off of the screen. But that means that wall rain is coming out. There's the hail, there's the leftovers. We're at about half ourselves. We're selecting Mirror Coat. It uses Surf. How much is Mirror Coat gonna do? About half damage. That's not too bad. There's the hail. It has a citrus berry. Okay, that means that if it uses Surf again, it's not going to be taken out unless it's a crit. Will this be a crit? No. It survives in red. Okay. Glacia will probably use a full restore here. This is our ace Pokemon. It's incredibly bulky. We're going to Mirror Coat just in case. Ice Beam. That means we win the battle. And we're good to go and face off with Drake. Okay, that's 3/4 of the Elite Four gone. So what is Drake the Dragon Master gonna do? So he leads off with Shelgon. So I'm going to use Mirror Coat because for some reason Dragon is a special type and I will never understand why. But it uses Protect. So I'm going to Mirror Coat again and it uses Rock Tomb. Okay. So I'm going to go for Counter since it wants to use physical moves and there's the Protect. So I'm going for Counter again. It uses Rock Tomb. How much is this going to do? Not bad. Not bad. It uses Protect. Interesting. We're just going to keep selecting Counter. There's Double Edge. How much is this doing? Oh, of course it survives in red health. Why would it not survive in red health? Well, why would it do anything else? So, this game is determined to be mildly irritating and Drake uses a full restore. And what's he gonna do now? I suspect he's gonna use Protect, isn't he? Yep, there it is. Alright, then there's another Protect. Okay, there's Double Edge. That was a weird visual glitch. What in the world? Weird visual stuff happening here. But anyway, there's Double Edge again. And we can finally move on to the next Pokemon. Okay, so Flygon is going to come out next. And we are going to use Safeguard in order to guard against any paralysis from happening. However, Flygon goes for Earthquake, which gets off some free damage. That's fine though, as we are still in a very good position here. So we're going to use counter, and Flygon uses Earthquake again. And this time it goes down to red. That's happening a lot. I don't like it. Drake decides not to full restore for some reason, and so Flygon ends up going down. That means that Salamence comes out next, and the Intimidate literally does not matter. We're not using our physical attack anyway, so whatever. Salamence uses Crunch, and so Mirror Coat is going to deal well over half to Salamence. We had a special defense drop, that's actually good for us. Salamence is going to eat its Citrus Berry. We're going to have our leftovers. Salamence goes for Crunch again. That did a lot of damage, but so does Mirror Coat. Salamence goes down. Altaria is going to come out next. We all know that Altaria do not take battles very seriously. This one starts dancing the dance of the dragons. That's fine, we get free leftovers. And it's going to do the same thing on the next turn. That's fine, that's fine. It goes for Dragon Dance again on the third turn. Alright, he's got 3 Dragon Dances up. We've had 3 turns of healing with leftovers. What is he going to do now? We're going to select counter. He uses Double Edge. And goodbye, Altaria. That just leaves Drake's Kingdra. And thank every single thing that is good, literally all of it, that this Kingdra is far less annoying than the last one we had to fight. It does, however, appear to have not learned anything from watching Altaria and starts doing dragon dances. And then it goes for the Dragon Dance a second time. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. If you're not damaging us, we just get free heals. It goes for a Body Slam. And counter is going to leave it at red health. Okay, Drake decides to be mildly annoying and go for a full restore. And then instead of doing Body Slam again, it goes for another Dance of the Dragons. Okay. Smokescreen. That is mildly irritating. And another smokescreen. Why not? Okay, well, we get more leftovers healing happening. Okay, smokescreen a third time. You've been through worse, I think. Then Dragon Dance. So far, all we've done is heal. He's not surely not one-shotting us, right? Like there's no. We're a level 95 Wobbuffet with 545 HP. Surely, even after he continues dancing like a dragon, even though he's a seahorse, he's not going to take us out in one hit. Okay, he's using Body Slam, and that barely did anything. And he's down. And now, we are ready to face the champion of champions, the strongest Pokemon trainer in the region. And on my first attempt against Wallace, I forgot that my Lodic has Toxic. And that ultimately ended up costing me a first try victory. As the toxic damage just built up, and we weren't able to survive. However, I learned my lesson on attempt number 2. And here's how that one went. He opens up with Wailord. Normally, Wailord opens up with Water Spout. This time, it opened up with Double Edge. Which, while that did negligible damage, it still did free damage. Then he sets up Rain. Alright, he does occasionally do that. That's fine. Then, finally, he does what I was expecting him to do and use Water Spout. That does a decent amount of damage, which means Mirror Coat will do quite a lot. But he does live on red. Alright, that's fine. He's going to full restore here. And so counter will not do anything. Alright, he's at full health. That means he's more likely to use Water Spout. Water Spout does damage depending on how much health the user has. So this will do a little bit more than it did last time, which means that Mirror Coat will do a little bit more than it did last time. Like I said, a little bit more. Okay, so I'm hoping that Wailord goes for Double Edge here, but he goes for Blizzard. Okay. So if I go for Mirror Coat, he'll use Bliss, and he's using Double Edge. Alright, so he used Blizzard, Double Edge, then Double Edge. So he uses Double Edge. Okay, so that one was a crit, and Wailord takes itself out. That's fine. That's fine. Up next is Tentacruel. This thing always runs Toxic. There's no reason to not run Toxic on Tentacruel. So I use Safeguard. He's using Hydro Pump. That's some free damage, but now he can't hit us with Toxic. So I'm going to go ahead and use Mirror Coat. He connects with the Hydro Pump. That's some decent damage. But that's even more decent. Okay, we have leftovers. Now this next mirror, alright, yeah, he's down. That's it, he's done. Bye-bye, Tentacruel. So now he's replacing the Tentacruel with Ludicolo. Alright, what is Ludicolo going to do? He's going to double team. Of course he is. The aim of the game is to be annoying. You win at Pokemon by making your opponents so frustrated that they give up. That's what the professors always tell us at the beginning of the game. Okay, so we're no longer protected by Safeguard. That's fine. We won't need that for a bit. We're just going to keep using Mirror Coat. He's using Surf now, and Mirror Coat misses. Alright, we get some health back from leftovers, and apparently that Mirror Coat miss was not good enough because he's using another double team. Oh boy. Okay, we're using Mirror Coat. He's using Surf. How much is Mirror Coat going to do? About half. That's fine. Well, we actually did more than half. That's better. He's using Surf again. Mirror Coat connects. And Ludicolo's gone. Whiscash is next. How much is Whiscash going to do? Alright, we're going to use Counter. And he's using Amnesia. Alright. That's fine. That's free leftovers healing. That's always good. We appreciate leftovers healing. There's another Amnesia. That means more leftovers healing. Leftovers healing is actually good. We like that. Okay, Earthquake. How much is Counter going to do? Alright, half. Okay, Earthquake. Counter. And those amnesias were totally pointless, and Whiscash just demonstrated why. Okay, Wallace is sending out his Gyarados. Intimidate absolutely could not matter less, no matter what. We're going to use Safeguard for some reason. I honestly don't remember why I did that. Okay, he's going to use Earthquake. We hit it with Counter. Okay, that's about half. We're going to use, he's using Earthquake again. That means Counter should take it out. Yep. Alright, so Wallace is sending out his other powerful Serpentine Pokemon that evolves from a weak, kind of ugly, just a fish. Okay, it's using Surf. Alright, Mirror Coat. Alright, there's the Citrus Berry. That's fine. Okay, there's another Surf. And how much is Mirror Coat doing? Yeah, there you go. Wallace, that is why you will only ever be an 8th gym leader. You will never be a legitimate champion. And we have officially beaten the main story, and Punchy the Wobbuffet gets to be in the Hall of Fame. But you are still not a champion. You are the 8th gym leader. What are you doing here? Where is the actual champion? Okay, so now we can't leave it we have to defeat Steven Stone. Steven Stone is the real champion. He leads off with Skarmory. This Skarmory can use Toxic. So we're going to use Safeguard. He does open up with Steel Wing. That's good. That's free. I mean, it's free damage on Wobbuffet, but Safeguard prevents Toxic. Okay, so he sets up spikes, and that does not matter at all. That's fine. Okay, he goes for Steel Wing again. We're going for counter. How much is that going to do? More than half. Okay. Now, if he goes for Steel Wing again, and it missed. That's fine. That's fine. Leftovers is always good. Okay, there's Steel Wing. Here's counter. Skarmory goes down. Safeguard goes down, but that doesn't matter. We're not going to need it anymore. Okay, Credilli's using Ancient Power. Okay, gets the Omni Boost. That's fine. The more damage he does to us, the more damage we do back. Alright, counter did just under half. Alright, Ingrain. That's normally pretty annoying. Should be fine though. We get the leftovers. We're going to go for counter. He's using Ancient Power. They got the Omni Boost last time. And Cradilly goes down. Okay, Metagross. Steven's ace monster, one of the 2 pseudo-legendaries in this region. It's Psychic Steel. It's launching a Shadow Ball. This is a really scary Pokemon. It's doing a massive amount of damage. And then counter comes out and sends it right back to its Pokeball. And up next is Claydol. Claydol's going to open with Earthquake. That's a lot of damage. How much is this counter going to do back? Oh, that's good. That's really good. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and Safeguard as Steven Stone uses a full restore. Okay, Claydol's going to use another Earthquake next turn. We know this. Alright, that was a lot of damage. Counter's going to send it all the way back down to red. Alright, if it uses one more Earthquake, we win. This thing has Earthquake. It can also use Hyper Beam. Full restore. Oh. Was not expecting 2 full restores on the same Pokemon. That's fine. That's fine. That's actually fine. What we like free leftover light screen that we like free leftovers turns. Free leftovers turns increases our odds of winning. Okay, there's the Earthquake. Okay. Back to red. Leftovers. Is he going to attack? Full restore. Alright. Alright. No big deal. And reflect. That's fine. That's a free leftovers turn. Okay, we're going to use counter. He's using earthquake. No crit. White screen wore off. Leftovers is happening. Okay, looks like he's out of full restores. There's an earthquake. Claydol goes down. Okay, up next is Aggron. What is Aggron going to do? We're going to select counter. It'll use a steel. It's using solar beam. Okay. I keep forgetting this thing can even learn that move. And for some inconceivable reason, I stared at the screen for several seconds knowing it had absorbed sunlight for solar beam, and then I hit counter. That's on me. I have no idea why I did that. Okay, so there's counter again. He's absorbing sunlight. You get a free turn of leftovers. I make sure to hit Mirror Coat this time. We get hit with the solar beam. How much is Mirror Coat doing? About half. Half is good. Now we're just going to repeat that same process. He's absorbing sunlight. I go for counter. We use Mirror Coat. If this thing didn't low roll, we win against the Aggron. Aggron is down. The final Pokemon, Armaldo. You get the leftovers. We're selecting counter. It uses slash. How much is counter doing? Just a little bit under half. A little bit more than half. Whatever. It's using ancient power now. And counter takes it down. We've defeated Steven Stone, the true and only champion of the Hoenn region. And we have finally defeated Pokemon Emerald using only Wobbuffet. And it only took 113 hours and 35 minutes. Oh, this was a long and annoying video to make. It's already been long enough. I'm not gonna... Have I learned my lesson? No. My next video is going to be Pokemon Emerald using only Slack Off. So, until then, if you've watched this whole video and you haven't left a like on it already, what are you doing? Leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel. You just sat through a 3-hour video of me using Wobbuffet. I'm Ichigo90, and I am blasting off again.